Hi and Assalamualaikum. We are from UiTM Puncak class AC220B4D. We would like to present about segmental and interior reporting of media Prima Berhad. Media Prima Berhad is a Malaysia media entertainment company listed on the main board of Bursa Malaysia. It was established in 2003 as a result of the demerger of Malaysian Resource Corporation Berhad Media Asset. Media Prima overtook Google and Facebook to become the number one choice for mobile content. The group has 4 television channels, which are TV3, TV9, and TV7, and 8 TV. It also owns 4 radio stations, AFM, Bluetooth FM, Fly FM, and Hot FM. Since then, they have acquired various media companies, including the New Straits Times, Ref Media Group, Big 3, Prima Studios, and Rip. Media Prima vision is to be leading digital-first content and commerce company, and their mission is to enrich life by informing, entertaining, and engaging across all media.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Account Executive 2 Hidayahtul Aina bin Rafi, and I'll be talking about the management approach of Media Prima Berhad, which include the factor to consider having segment reporting, the type of segment, and the CODM and its responsibilities. Firstly, I'll be talking about the factor to consider having segment reporting. There are 3 factors that the CODM of a company must consider to identify the operating segment. Firstly, the nature of business activities. It is identified by any activity carried out by an entity with the main objective of profit maximization. As for Media Prima Berhad, the company engaged in a collection of media-related business to maximize their profit. Secondly, the existence of managers responsible for the activities will lead the company to have segment reporting. The segment manager is responsible for making strategic decisions about the company segment. As for Media Prima Berhad, its CODM includes the senior management and the boards of directors of the company who are responsible for assessing the performance of various segments. Thirdly, the information presented to the boards of directors. The CODM shall refer to the reports assessed by the boards of directors as it contains reliable information regarding the overall performance of the company. As for Media Prima Berhad, the operating segment can be determined based on the reports reviewed by the senior management and the boards of directors themselves. The information, which includes the sales, revenue, and expenses of each activity, will help the CODM to make judgment of various segments in order to make better decisions of the company's performance. Looking back at the first factor, nature of business activities, these 4 factors must also be taken into consideration. Firstly, the nature of product and services of Media Prima Berhad is to engage in a complete business related to media. For example, print media, digital media, outdoor media, and much more. Next, the nature of the company's production process refers to how the company produces their products and provides their services. For example, Media Prima Omnia provides creative services and integrated marketing solutions across all Media Prima platforms. The type of customers of Media Prima Berhad is based on their age, gender, education, occupation, and race. For example, the company targets local and international Chinese viewers for its 8 TV television networks. As for the method to distribute their products and services, Media Prima Berhad delivers their business activities through brand campaigns, creative content, television networks, and much more. The primary type of segment of Media Prima Berhad is business segments. This is because the CODM considers the business primarily from a product perspective, as the activities of the group are predominantly domestic. Its operating segment includes Omnia, broadcasting, outdoor media, print media, content creation, digital media, and home shopping network. The term Chief of Decision Making, or as known as CODM, identifies a function, not necessarily a person with a specific title. That function is to allocate resources and to assess the performance of the operating segments of an entity. As for Media Prima Berhad, the management of the company has determined the operating segments based on the reports reviewed by the CODM, which in their case the senior management and the boards of directors that are used to make strategic decisions. One of the boards of directors is Datuk Seri Dr. Syed Hussein Al-Junaid, who is the group chairman of Media Prima Berhad. And one of the senior management is Muhammad Rafi, who is the group managing director of the company. The CODMs are responsible for assessing the performance of the operating segment of Media Prima Berhad. Plus, they are responsible for assessing the assets and liabilities of the operations on a group basis, as well as making up individual segments.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Norain Zamri. I am an accountant executive 3. On this part, we will explain to you on the process to identify reportable and non-reportable segment, how to calculate 10% and 75% threshold test, and lastly, we will present to you our new segmental report. I will continue on process to identify reportable segment and non-reportable segment. In order to determine whether the segment is reportable or not, we have to conduct 10% threshold test. And this test can be done by using 3 bases, which are revenue basis, profit loss basis, and asset basis. As for the revenue basis, the revenue of the segment, internal and external, must be equal to 10% or more of the combined revenue of all operating segments. Next, for profit loss basis, the amount of the profit or loss of the segment must be equal to 10% or more of total profit making or loss making. We need to choose whichever is greater in absolute amount, whether profit or loss. And last, for asset basis, the segment asset must be equal to 10% or more of the total asset of all operating segments. And as for Media Prima Berhad, they are using revenue basis in order to conduct a 10% threshold test. Next, we should identify if the percentage of the segment is equal to 10% or more, then it should be reported as reportable segment and shall be disclosed the segment separately. Meanwhile, if the percentage of the segment less than 10%, then we should classify it as non-reportable segment, and this segment shall be combined and disclosed under other segment category. Next, after we have done with the 10% threshold test, all reportable segment will need to be tested against 75% total revenue requirement using total external revenue of the entity. The combined external revenue of identified operating segment must be equal or exceed 75% total external revenue of the entity. Otherwise, the entity has to identify more reportable operating segment even if the segment failed the 10% threshold test.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Accounting Executive for Faqrina Binti Tasalim. I will explain to you the process of identifying the reportable or non-reportable segments of Media Prima Berhad by conducting the 10% threshold test and 75% test. Media Prima Berhad has 7 operating segments, which are Omnia, Broadcasting, Outdoor Media, Pre-Media, Content Creations, Digital Media, and Home Shopping. For Media Prima Berhad, we will use the revenue basis to conduct the 10% threshold test. As from the table, it has shows that the 10% threshold test of the company has resulted in 4 reportable segments and 3 non-reportable segments. So, how is it being identified and calculated? The 10% threshold test revenue basis is evaluated by measuring the total reported external and internal revenue of each segment over the total revenue of all operating segments times with 100. For example, the total revenue of Omnia is 388,032,000. Then we will take this amount to be divided with the total revenue of all of the operating segments, which is 1,463,395,000, and then multiply by 100. This calculation has resulted in 26.52%, which indicates that Omnia is a reportable segment as it is more than 10%. This way of calculation is being repeated for each of the operating segments. As per the calculations of each segment, it has been identified that the Omnia, Broadcasting, Pre-Media, and Home Shopping are shown as the reportable segments, as all of these 4 segments have generated more than 10%. That is 26.52%, 23.80%, 10.22%, and 21.11% respectively. Whereas the outdoor media, content creations, and digital media are shown as the non-reportable segments as the results are below than 10%. Okay, now we will move on to the next part, which is the calculations of the 75% test. As for this rule, the total external revenue of the reportable segments must be above 75% to remain as the reportable segments, or otherwise we will require additional other operating segments to be identified as reportable segments. In order to calculate the 75% threshold rule, the total external revenue of the reportable segments must be divided by the company's total external revenue of all of the operating segments. So after we had total out all of the reportable segments external revenue of Media Prima Berhad, we had get a total amount of 856,613,000, and we will take this amount and divide it by the total external revenue of all of the operating segments. That is 1,041,565, then times by 100. Thus, the result of the 75% test of media Prima Berhad is 82.24%, and this clearly shows that the result has exceeded 75%. Hence, the existing reportable segments, which are Omnia, Broadcasting, Multimedia, and Home Shopping, will remain as the reportable segments, and there will be no additional segments should be reported. The new segmental report of Media Prima Berhad has been reconstructed, and it has reproduced 4 reportable segments and 1 non-reportable segment. The 4 reportable segments consist of Omnia, Broadcasting, Premedia, and Home Shopping, while the other 3 non-reportable segments that are Outdoor Media, Content Creation, and Digital Media has combined under all other segments, as it does not meet and satisfy the 10% threshold test and more. So, in determining the reportable and non-reportable segments, as well as for the preparations of the operating segments, adjustment for the both tests, which are 10% threshold test and 75% test, are essential.
There are 3 advantages of segment reporting. Firstly is transparency. For Media Prima Berhad, segment reporting allows to show areas that are profitable and which are areas that are negatively impacting revenue. And secondly is better decision making. It helps potential investor in better investment decision. And thirdly is segment reporting also helps Media Prima Berhad's shareholder have a clearer understanding of any change that could affect overall performance. There are 3 disadvantages of segment reporting. Firstly is data manipulation. Segment reporting is used for data manipulation if the information is published in the true eyes of management style. This gives business leaders more time to decide how segments are built and what numbers are released. And secondly, it could be harmful when the company discloses the information publicly. This is because the competitor can access information about the segment profitability. And thirdly is it emphasizes the present. Segment reporting can rely too much on short-term number. For example, a company might create a department just for its online business. This department can run into significant deficit before having the right people and infrastructure in place.
For MFRS 134, there are 2 basis preparations in preparing the interim report, which are integral method and discrete method. The integral method of the interim report is the fractions of the annual report where the annual values are being multiplied by the fractions of the reporting periods. While for the discrete method, it is a separate period where the reports are being prepared on a periodic basis. So each of the interim interval is considered as a standalone reporting period. Okay, for Media Prima Berhad, the basis preparation that adopted by the company are discrete method, as the company prepare the interim financial report quarterly. So the unaudited interim financial statements have been prepared in accordance with MFRS 134 interim financial reporting and paragraph 9.22 of listing requirement of Bursa Malaysia Securities Berhad. Okay, now I will explain on the accounting policies used by Media Prima Berhad in preparing the interim report. One of the accounting policies is MFRS 16 list. A contract contains a list if it conveys the rights to control the use of an identified asset for a period of time in exchange for the consideration. Lists are recognized as right of use asset and a corresponding liability at the date on which the list asset is available for use by the group and company, and this refer to the commencement date. Applied from the 1st January 2020, Media Prima Berhad had applied practical expedient to account for a COVID-19 related rent concessions that meets all of the following conditions in the same way as they would if they were not list modifications. The first condition is the change in lease payment has results in revised considerations for the lease that is substantially the same as or less than the consideration for the lease immediately preceding the change. The next one is the annual reduction in lease payments affects only payments due on or before 30 June 2021. And the last condition is there is no substantive change to other terms and conditions of the lease. During this financial year also, there is an amendment to the MFRS 16 COVID-19 related rent concession, and this amendment effective beginning on or after 1st June 2020. The other accounting policy used is MFRS 1.0 investment property. This MFRS can be defined as land or building or part of building or both that held for the purpose of earned rental, for capital appreciation, or for both purposes. However, if the land and building are used for the administrative purpose and production purposes, it will not consider as investment property. For Media Prima Berhad, the investment property is depreciated on the straight line basis to allocate the cost to their residual values over their estimated useful life. And it also stated at cost less accumulated depreciation and accumulated impairment loss.
Next, as for the type of interim report, Media Prima Berhad has issued their interim report quarterly, which means it is issued 4 times in a year. So in total, we have 4 quarters. The first quarter started on January 2020 until March 2020, followed by the second quarter, April 2020 until June 2020. The third quarter begins from July 2020 until September 2020, and the last quarter, which is fourth quarter, started on October 2020 until December 2020. Now, let's moving on to the current and comparative period for each statement. As for statement of financial position, the company has reported the statement of financial position as at 31st December 2020. As for comparative, it is reported on 31st December 2019. Next, for statement of profit, loss and other comprehensive income, it can be divided into 2, which are for the current period of 3 months and cumulative period of 12 months. As for the current period of 3 months, the date would be on 1st October 2020 until 31st December 2020, while for the cumulative period, the date would be on 1st January 2020 until 31st December 2020. As for the comparative, the current period of 3 months would be on 1st October 2019 until 31st December 2019, and for cumulative, it would be on 1st January 2019 until 31st December 2019. Third, statement of cash flow. The current period will be on 1st January 2020 until 31st December 2020, while for the comparative, the date will be on 1st January 2019 until 31st December 2019. And the last one, statement of changes in equity. The current period will be on 1st January 2020 until 31st December 2020. Meanwhile, for the comparative, the date will be on 1st January 2019 until 31st December 2019.
For the adjustment 1, the cost of inventories as at 31st December 2020 is Rm 24,097,000. Meanwhile, the net realizable value of the inventories is Rm 23,092,000. Based on MFRS 102, the inventories are measured at the level of cost and net realizable value. So for the effect of before and after adjustment 1, since the net realizable value of inventories is lower than its cost, the inventories are measured at its net realizable value of Rm 23,092,000. Before the adjustment, the cost of inventories is Rm 24,097,000. The effect of after the adjustment would be Rm 23,093,000, causing a decrease in the total of current assets of Rm 550,160,000.
So, adjustment 2, ordinary share. On 1st December 2020, the Media Prima Berhad has issued new ordinary share to their shareholder amounting to 1 million unit at price of 50 cents per unit as a way to raise their capital. So this is the effect of before and after adjustment of 4th quarter in interim report. So the amount of share capital before is 1524735 and after is 2024735. So that's all from me. Thank you for watching.